on, but the actual radio show hasn't started. My engineer is waiting for me to give the cue to fade and start the show. So we're going to have two breaks. And on one of the breaks, the first break is going to be about 10-15 minutes of dialogue. Then we'll break. And then when we come back, that'll be the meat of the show.
Okay.
And we're just going to go through the questions as I fed them to you in the email, if that's okay.
I'm here for your ride.
Okay, and it's just, us, a conversation, just like we were talking the other day. I want everybody to know all that.
Okay.
All right. Whenever you're ready, Dusty.
This was in the breakfast. The time is perfect.
Oh, cool.
You're going to go right into your selling sack, okay?
Grab my glasses.
Selling sack. Selling sack.
20 seconds.
Whew, what a day, Lord. It is. I guess I need this mic, huh?
Selling sack. Selling sack. Selling sack. Selling sack. Selling sack.
Hey, Sacramento. How's everybody doing? You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key. We are selling Sacramento. And yes, we are a little bit late. They are doing some construction around here on Arden, near Arden Mall, El Camino. And it's a beautiful thing because they're throwing up a huge apartment complex. It's going to be really nice. We definitely need the housing. So I don't know if you've been in the area off of El Camino and was it the 80 in Arden? You can see it from the freeway. So occasionally during the construction, they will just block off all the streets and send you another way to get here. So I'm a little out of breath. I'm getting my breath, but I'm back. And if you are watching us on Facebook Live, Twitter, and YouTube, then you see my beautiful guest, Miss Thiah Muhammad of Raising Black Millionaires, the media company. And that is what our show is about today, Raising Black Millionaires. There is something in the individuals who become wealthy. It's not a recipe that they gain overnight. We only see the end results by the time they hit us, whether it's by book or on the news or somewhere. We see the fame and it looks almost instant. But for most of them, it's something that's been in the making, in their DNA or in their genes or in their training, in their raising, all of their lives. And I'm reminded of just the other day, the Grammys. Beyonce won. Of course, she won, but she made history, and I can't remember the full category. She's the only woman, and then the most Grammys received ever on a #1 album, something. It just went on and on and on, something like over 27 Grammys. So when she took her acceptance speech, she pointed out that she had been doing this since she was 9 years old. And then I read a little brief news article just yesterday where her mother, Tina Knowles, said she had to correct her daughter. She had been doing it since she was 6. And so I'm excited to have Miss Thiah Muhammad from Raising Black Millionaires for several reasons, you all. Just first of all, Thiah, how are you, my dear?
I'm excellent. I'm super excited to be here with you and your audience.
And tell everyone where you are. Where are you joining us from?
Lord have mercy. I am in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Hey. So we're on a little bit of a different time zone.
Yes, indeed.
But tell everyone a little bit about Raising Black Millionaires. How did that start?
Wow. Raising Black Millionaires started off as your sister deciding to write a book, right? I went to the conference that I met you at. It feels like a lifetime ago, right?
It was so many years ago. And I guess we should probably preface this conversation with how we met.
Yeah.
because that kind of took you into you went to that conference with a different intention.
Yeah,
And
totally.
you came out of it with a whole life script change.
Completely. Like everything about my entrepreneurial journey, and I have to be honest, my life's purpose completely changed from attending that conference. And that conference, I always love to lift that conference up, is the Power Networking Conference that's put on annually by FraserNet. That's Dr. George C. Fraser's company.
And that was a very powerful conference. The leadership, the guest speakers that he had there, the vendors, everyone who was there, you just felt this energy and this vibe of success just emanating throughout that conference everywhere you went. I remember that.
Yeah. And if I can just add to what you said, that you could feel when you walked into the convention of that whole conference, I felt the love.
Yeah.
I felt love like you only feel when you're around Black folks love, right? Like it just lifts you up. And that's what it was. But yeah.
And that's how you and I connected.
That's exactly how we
I was from California, you was from somewhere else, and we were on two different paths. We were there for two different reasons. We are of two different religions, and we are now sisters.
Yeah, and I remember what we ate when we sat down that evening.
At the sandwich shop or at the event?
At the shop. I had some asparagus, and Lord have mercy, that was some good asparagus. I'm just FYI.
That's why you remember that asparagus.
But
that's awesome. But you were there initially at the conference for your business. What was the business you were originally there for? And I want to emphasize this because I want to show people that it's okay to change paths. Always. It's okay if you get a sense of awareness and you're doing something that you've been doing for so long, but you feel like you should be doing something else. A lot of people listening right now are probably in that position. They're afraid to move from where they are and move out to what they feel they should be doing. And I want you to share with the audience what you were initially doing in comparison to where you are and what you're doing now, so that we can see the fruit of the labor of that change.
Well, back then I was in the process of building a restaurant delivery service. Now, this was way
before
Uber Eats,
right?
It was way before. What's the other one? The popular one, DoorDash. This is before all of those. This is before apps were really popular. I remember setting up a website so that I could just send restaurants to send their customers to. Like it was a whole different time. And I went to that conference to meet my very first business coach, who was coaching me through building this business to where I wanted it to be.
Right.
But when I got there and I saw all of these beautiful Black people who looked like they could be related to me in some form or fashion, I was inspired because, you know, you go into a room and just feel like money. Like they look like me and they just felt like money.
Right. I know what you're saying.
That was because they were uber successful in their various industries,
right,
as entrepreneurs. And that struck me in such a deep way that I remember waking up the second morning of the conference. I literally rose up out of my sleep with the idea of interviewing one particular individual. It was my business coach's father. Mm-hmm. His name is William R. Patterson, but his father is Bill Patterson. And I was just so impressed with the way William did business and just his overall manner. I said, I got to interview Mr. Patterson, because I'm looking around this conference and I see, not only do I see these ultra successful Black millionaires walking through this conference, like they just taking leisurely strolls, right? But I'm also seeing them there with their children.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had brought their children from ages 17 to 24 is what was allowed for you to just bring with you as a minor or a child, a student, really.
I remember seeing a single table full of young people,
yes.
And they had them stand up and they applauded them for being at the conference, and they were high schoolers.
Yes.
Our kids.
Yes.
At this conference.
Yes. And making major relationship initiations, right? Mm-hmm. Major, like a lot of those children or students, young men and women, were setting up internships and getting guidance for their own entrepreneurial endeavors.
Right.
So it was so
empowering
to me. And yes, Lord, very powerful. But it impacted me in such a way that the first question that came to mind is, what is it that these children's parents knew that my parents didn't know to give to me?
Right.
That I'm at this ripe age of full-fledged adulthood, and I'm still a struggling entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. What is it that they know that would have them to bring their children here? And then even further, what is it that they know? What is it that they're doing with their children that I need to be doing with mine?
Right.
And so all of that just kind of rushed me at one time. And literally when I rose up that morning, to start getting ready for the conference, the thought was, okay, you need to interview Mr. Patterson. Just ask him if he would allow you to interview him. And when I went to interview him, when I went to go ask him, he had this beautiful smile on his face, and you could see that he was so pleasantly surprised. And he said, of course, I would love to talk with you. As a matter of fact, if you have a few moments, I'd like to share something with you right now. Baby, what Mr. Patterson shared with me in about 20 minutes, it changed me forever as an entrepreneur and as a parent. And I turned from him. I took like 2 steps and I said, oh, I got to share this. Oh, I have to share this with all of my people. Like whoever will listen, I got to share this. And so I immediately went to somebody who has become my mentor, who was also there at the conference. And I'm like, brother, what do you think about this idea? Because now I'm thinking, oh, I got to interview a bunch of Black millionaires, because everybody parents differently. You know that, right? As moms, the way we may have the same core values, but my manner of parenting may be different from your manner of parenting, right? Mm-hmm. And I knew that even though there may be diversity in the way people are parenting, there had to be some type of similarity in the formulas. And so I said, well, this justifies the need to interview multiple parents of Black millionaires. And so that's what I embarked upon. I left that conference, and right away I started emailing folks and setting up interviews. And that's how we got the very first book.
Now, before we get into the book, do you recall a nugget or two that Mr. Williams shared with you on that day?
Oh, Lord, you really trying to test my age. That's really what you trying to do, Agent Key. I can tell you, one of the things that he told me that stuck with me was that he and his wife required that William and his sister, that they take up a foreign language, a musical instrument, and a sport, they had to stick with those 3 that they chose, and they had to do them to the point of mastery. Meaning they had to study them to the point of mastery. Wow. Meaning they couldn't do what I did, which was beg my mama and daddy to buy me a flute in the 5th grade, get into band, and then by 8th grade, I don't want to do this no more. Like they couldn't do that.
Right. Which is probably the story for all of us. We dabbled in it, but we definitely didn't master it. But to require mastery of a thing is something altogether different, a different level of thinking.
Yeah, and of 3 totally different areas. But yes, ma'am, absolutely. And when he said that, and I started to look further into the various parts of the brains that were developing in them having to study those 3 different areas, and to do so with such commitment and vigor. And what all of the different character areas of character development that gave those children, it was like, wow.
Right.
Wow. Yeah.
When you think about that, that's so awesome, because with music, it requires a certain part of the brain and muscle memory. And with a sport, it requires a certain level of physicality. And if you're talking about mastering those things, and then also with a foreign language, that is some serious physical, mental, and social training on another level that's happening without the kids even really realizing it.
Yeah. And they always I'm saying they because there were multiple millionaires who did the same thing with their children.
Wow. So that's a pattern that you saw emerge.
Especially with the foreign language, because what they would do was to make sure that they got the practical application and were able to fully benefit from the foreign language. They sent them abroad for summers at a time. Sometimes they would travel with them, but oftentimes they would send them. You remember back in the day, it was an aspiration. It was semi-popular, but the foreign exchange programs.
Oh, right.
They would have their children do stuff like that. And so that's how they would really just make sure that they not only understood other cultures and other languages and how to effectively communicate in other languages, but it gave them a sense of their global placement. Right.
You know, someone who speaks another language who I didn't know, and he's deceased now, but Kobe Bryant, I had no idea until he passed away, just how awesome of a person that he was.
Yeah, I think if my memory serves me correctly, Kobe Bryant actually grew up. I can't remember the country, but he actually grew up in a certain age. In
Italy.
I was gonna say I am wrong. Yep.
So that's pretty amazing. We're going to take a break, but when we come back, I want you to talk about the book, and we're going to delve more into some of the findings that you were discovering and have discovered from the parents of these multimillionaires. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key here with my guest today, Ms. Thiah Muhammad, and we will be right back. Oh my goodness, girl.
Going to take calls today?
Am I going to take calls?
It's up to you. I just, if you're not, it's just going to always just say it.
Okay.
I would just say no. It seems like you got a big story.
We'll see. People might have some options. Is that so that's not the number? Why is that even up there if that's not the number? Can I get the real number up there?
Well, that's the number to reach him. Right?
I need a cheat sheet.
Or
I could do 5333. Or I could just remember the number. Okay. All right. He's hard on me, but it's all in love.
It's all in love.
It's all in love.
Yep.
That's my engineer.
You are killing the game, man.
921. Look, he's back here encouraging me. Thank you, Dosty. 921-5333.
I love the growth. I remember when you first started. You could tell the growth.
I appreciate that. So we got some folks watching Miss Thiah. Hey, Ronald. How you doing, sir? Miss Tony, Nikki, hey, lady. Ron says, interesting information, right? Yep.
Hey, Ronald.
Miss Tony, girl, I'm trying to stay away from you. Tony has the clothes, honey. She's got this online clothing boutique. And she tags me in these videos where she gets clothes and put them on. And I always end up buying more because it's so cute. And it comes in 3 colors and 5 colors. So sometimes I get all 3 colors. So when I see a tag from Tony,
Keep tagging her, Tony. Keep tagging her. That's the moral of that story.
Keep tagging me. Oh, Lord. What did she say? Oh, loving the discussion. Yes.
I thank you, Tony. This is fun.
Yeah. And this is information that you know how we were talking before, how people say kids don't come with an instruction manual.
Yeah.
But and I think even Mr. Frazier says this, that success leaves footprints
All the time.
right?
All the time.
Exactly. I appreciate you too, Miss Tony. Girl, you know I'm gonna keep buying, keep on tagging, girl. Success definitely leaves footprints. This is phenomenal. Thank you, Miss Shayla.
Shayla.
Y'all wait till you hear this. Yes, Miss Thiah is phenomenal. I'm just glad that she moved and acted on what God urged her to do, because this information is so necessary.
Thank you, sis.
You're welcome, Miss Nikki. You are welcome. Oh, why do I feel the breaks ending?
Yes, it is.
We about to come back from the break. Okay.
You understand it.
Right? Let's see. Trying to get to my questions. I don't even think I need the questions. It's just a natural flow, right? Yeah.
I wish you could have recorded that conversation the other day.
We are back. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key, and we are with Miss Thiah Muhammad of Raising Black Millionaires. She has written a book with the same title. She has a media company with the same title. She's got a TV series with the same title. She's got a blog with the same title because it's all about raising Black millionaires. Miss Thiah, before we went on break, I wanted you to talk about the book. And before we went to break, you gave the story about how it got started, but now you're on this path. We're at the point of now you're on the path of scheduling these appointments, connecting with these parents of multimillionaires. How is that going? What is that looking like?
Well, I can tell you that my initial plan was to interview the parents of the Black millionaires we knew, right? Mm-hmm. So interview the parent of Michael Roberts, or interview the parent of Keith Weish, right? That was my initial intent. But when I realized that actually in conversing with the actual millionaires themselves, that they were able to give me their experience from their perspective and how they employ the same techniques with their children.
That's great.
Then it was like, oh, okay, this is all good. This is happening exactly to happen. And so that's how we ended up going. And it's been such a phenomenal ride that every interview I do, it outdoes the previous interview every single time, without fail.
So what's been the most rewarding interview that has been, I don't want to say life-changing, but because I'm sure you get something out of all of them, but which interview has impacted you the most and why?
So that's an unfair question. Let me go on record to say that right now.
Okay.
But when I think about my conversation with Michael Russell, who is the CEO of H.J. Russell and Company, in Atlanta, Georgia,
Okay.
whose father is Herman, is the late great Herman Russell Sr. H.J. Russell and Company, just to bless the audience with a little bit of information. H.J. Russell and Company was founded in, I believe it was 1957, either 57 or 47. And that company is responsible for building the Georgia Dome. That company is responsible for building the Hartsfield Jackson International Airport. That company is responsible for building the Mercedes-Benz Arena in Atlanta and the Smithsonian African American Museum of History and Culture.
I'm on their page now looking at this, and it's just amazing. This is a Black-owned construction company.
Black-owned company. And not construction, it's real estate development. And if you look on their site, they handle various aspects of the overall development process, right?
Airport transportation, government, healthcare, higher education, industrial, multifamily, public assembly.
Yeah, like
entertainment.
Wow. You have to spend some time getting to know that company. But here's the thing. Michael Russell is the youngest of Mr. and Mrs. Russell's children. He had two other children who were obviously older than him, and they all work in the company. And now they're in the process of establishing Generation 3, and some of them are working within the company, and some of them are doing their own thing. But I can tell you the thing that when I think about my conversation with him, the thing that most resonated with me was how he explained his family's very intentional approach to preparing the entire Generation 3 of the Russell family to carry on the legacy. He talked about how they have their quarterly meetings. He talked about how they deal with grooming them to be owners, even if they don't want to be actively engaged in the day-to-day business because it's just not their thing. And for me, as a parent who, you know how you kind of can see where your children are interested, what they're interested in, and where they may be leaning towards. Right. I can see that maybe not all of my 5 children are going to be interested in being involved in the RBM brands and all of the brands that fall under RBM, right? Mm-hmm. And so it was very helpful to me to hear how his parents groomed them to be responsible legacy owners and builders, maintainers of the H.J. Russell and Company legacy, right? So that was so impactful. Even when he told me that most of the time when they were little, even though they were the family that had an indoor pool, when there was only one other house anywhere that they knew of in that area that had a pool at all.
And theirs was indoors.
Theirs was indoors. And his dad used to be friends, like close friends with Martin Luther King Jr. And he would come over to the house and he would just relax at the house sometimes. And his arrangement with Dr. King was, you take care. Dr. King was like, okay, I'll take care of the mission. I'll take care of the movement. You make sure you have the economic piece together. Wow. And when we have to bail out some of the leaders in the movement from jail, then you'll be able to take care of that because you have the economic piece. Listen, when he told me after being a part of that family that every time he and his siblings went to the store with his mama, most of the time they asked for mommy, can I have this? Mommy, can I have that? Most of the time the answer was no.
Right.
Like, they had the money, they could afford the candy bar or the new Jordans. Like, they could afford it,
But they denied them.
most of the time, no. When he told me that, like, that totally changed things. When he told me, or I should say this, when I talked to a friend, I found out later a friend of Mr. Russell was Nathaniel Bronner Sr.
Oh my goodness. I so enjoyed that interview.
Did you?
Yes.
Part 2 is coming this week too.
So it must have been part 1 that I saw, because I was going to ask you to talk about that too. But before we move on to the Bronner Brothers story,
Sure.
This company that we're talking about, because I pulled them up, they've been around for more than 60 years.
Yeah.
And if you think about the type of legacy that the father, as you're saying, he was prepping the children, the grandchildren, he's looking way down the road to say, hey, this is what we do. This is what's in our DNA. This is the cash money. This is what's going to keep us economically sound. Learn it, whether you like it or not. Find something that you're interested in and you know, make it work for you. But he's planting the seed early with his family. And that's something that I think that's a huge principle that we I think as a people, we are waking up the majority.
Yes.
There are a lot of us who come from backgrounds where, and really pretty much all of us come from the background of having to struggle. And you sometimes, some of us were raised under, what am I trying to say? Where education was most important, where we had the opportunity to do better. But a lot of us culturally weren't exposed to a lot because we were just struggling to make it. We were hustling to survive. And so I think we're just now coming to a point in our generations where we're no longer struggling. Not that we're not all still struggling, but a lot more of us are not struggling as much, and we have access to more. And so now we're actually able to do these same things that you're saying this gentleman did for his family, and for him to be connected to Dr. King and for them to work together like that on that level. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
If you pursue the thing you were created to do, and if I'm doing the same, if we are trying to overall achieve the same goal, we can work together to help raise our entire communities. And it sounds like that's what they were doing.
And I think it's important to note that all of these people started off, well, the majority of the people I've interviewed either started off, in their words, dirt poor, or just making it. I think that's hugely important to note, because a lot of people think that I know that when I was younger, I was fed this fallacy that all rich people are rich because it was handed down to them. It was given to them. They were born into wealth. And I can tell you emphatically that the majority of the people, I haven't interviewed anybody who was just born into the wealth. I have interviewed people like the Russells, whose father had already started the business, but the business was nowhere where it is now today, you see. Or even when we interviewed Nathaniel Bronner Jr., his father was senior, of course, and we interviewed him. When he got out of college, because he graduated with a degree in chemistry. When he got out of college with his chemistry degree, he started working in the company, and the company was bringing in right around $200,000 a year, something around that number a year. Now, back then, that was a lot of money, but it was still $200K, right? When he started working in the product development department for the company, he took that company from $200K to $9 million in annual sales.
Mm.
Like, I don't care what kind of calculator you're using. That's a huge jump, right?
Okay.
And what that told me was when he told me that his father, when I asked him, after he told me about his paper route that his father imposed upon him, his
Right.
father made him and his 5 brothers take up a paper route.
Right.
When I asked him, how young were you when you started working in some capacity? Because his father would also have them to go around and work at some of the wig shops and do different things like that when they were younger. And I asked him, how old were you when you first started having to work? This man looked at me and said, I don't remember not ever not working. When he told me that, I said, oh, you done messed the sister up. Listen, I am fully in support of child labor. Understand that right now today. Put some people to work, right? But when he said that, that totally changed. And when I talked to other people, you could see that totally reconditioned the way they saw that whole concept of giving our children everything and making them to wait until they're 15, 16 or out of school to do any type of real work.
Let me tell you what blew my mind about that interview.
Give it
And this wasn't huge. It was just kind of like a, dang it, I wish I would have done that.
Yeah.
He said they never received an allowance.
You understand that? Do you understand that?
Like, wait a minute, because it's like, well, what a concept. You mean you got to work for what you want?
Sister.
Something as simple as that, and how much integrity and character you implant in your children if you make them work for what they want.
Yes. Yeah.
But we feel like but I know where it comes from, why we did it, because our parents, for the most part, didn't have the ability to give us what we wanted. They just didn't financially have it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we got older, we were determined to say, when I have kids, I'm going to get them, if we're not giving them everything they want, well, we'll give them an allowance, but it's like, no, there's something. Our parents were not being extreme. They didn't give because they didn't have it. Mm-hmm. But there's got to be some kind of happy balance there, along with lessons being taught.
Listen, when I talked to my very first interview, the very first interview I did, which we put in the book, was with Dr. Frazier. He told me, he said, if there is one thing that I wish I understood then that I understand now, is that we have this concept that we want to make things better for our children, but we don't understand a lot of times that better is not necessarily easier.
Mm.
And so there's a false equivalency that we do where we say better for our children, providing better for them means make everything easy for them. And it has the exact opposite effect of what we really want to produce, because we want to produce children who are producers themselves, right? Mm-hmm. Who are capable of being self-sustaining and thriving, right? If we get them into the habit of expecting us to give them everything, right? And I'm telling you, I've talked to these people, these millionaires, and in most cases, their parents didn't give them anything, is what I need you to understand. Like they would take care of their basic needs, but they didn't give them anything. They put them in a position to be able to create it or produce it for themselves. Do you understand how limitlessly valuable it is when you train a child from childhood to be able to think in a way that helps them to produce for themselves anything that they desire? That's everything. That's a complete game changer. That changes the way we go about general problem solving throughout the day.
Right.
But yeah, don't get me on my soapbox.
No, stay on the soapbox. That's what this episode is all about. You stay on that soapbox right there, because what we want to glean from you are all of these nuggets that you got from them, as well as how they impacted you. Let's talk about the book. Now, the book came out of this.
Yes.
Give us something. Show us the book.
So the book,
give us something from the book.
So the book, actually everything I've given you so far is from the book.
Okay, all right. So and the title of the book is
called Parenting Secrets of Black Millionaires. Now, this is volume 1. The book the one that we just got through talking about, where you have Dr. Frazier, you have Lord, don't let me test myself trying to name all the people in the book. But we got Keith Weish in there. We have Wendy Muhammad. We have Louis Enrique Negron. If you're not familiar with these names, you got to look these people up. They're phenomenal individuals.
That's the other part. If I can just pause with you for a minute there, is that this book and the information in it is also very revealing.
Yeah.
Our story is not being told by the media. We don't even know these people exist. And this is probably the first time that any of our listeners have even heard of. Well, the Bronner brothers are probably pretty popular because we all about our hair.
Yes, Lord.
But yes, H.J. Russell and Company.
Yeah.
I'm almost confident that a very small segment of our listeners even know who that is, what they do, but the moves that they're making, the things that they've done, the legacy that they're leaving behind is phenomenal. And your book exposes these individuals.
Listen, Keisha, I got to tell you, when I realized how few of us were aware of these individuals, and then I started studying for the sake of conducting interviews, I started studying the long list. First, I became aware of the long list. We have thousands within this country. Within the US of A, we have thousands of Black millionaires in this country, right? Who we have no idea about. But peep game, check this out. The thing that's gonna mess you up is that a lot of times these individuals are the heads of brands that we use every day. How many times have you just flown through the Atlanta airport?
Right.
How many times? And how many times has it ever crossed your mind that the individuals behind these brands that you use every day, that you're exposed to every day, have a Black face behind them? Right. They look like they could be your uncle.
Mm-hmm.
Or your auntie, your mama and them. That's what they look, because they could be, right? Mm-hmm. And so when I realized that there were so many of our people who were wealthy and entrepreneurs and giants in their industries, I said, okay, Lord, okay, I have to figure out a way to quickly help our people to become aware of the Black millionaires and billionaires we have in our community. Mm-hmm. And the plethora of industries that they're giants in. I have to figure out a way to quickly get them engaged and make them aware of our people doing these amazing things, because the only Black millionaire is not an athlete or entertainer. I'm so sorry to break it to you.
Right.
But we have a majority of our millionaires and billionaires. They are titans in various industries. So when I thought about it, I said, okay, what's the quickest way we can do that? How can we really make this easier for parents to impart that type of knowledge to their children while learning themselves? And then that's when we came up with the Raising Black Millionaires flashcards. So then we had to move from We had
I love the flashcards. Show that. Go back to the flashcards.
I was trying to be real fast, but
You can't flash the flashcards.
but that's
Tell
what
us what's in there. Tell us what's in the flashcards.
So the Raising Black Millionaires flashcards is a deck of, that's volume 1 that I just showed you, but it's a deck of 52 cards in each deck that introduces your child. And in many cases, I've had customers tell me, oh, my child is a baby. I really got those cards for myself, right? So, but it's a
That's good though, because it's a quick way to learn. And again, like I said, you're exposing us to information that we didn't know was there. And when we can see people who look like us achieve the success that they have, especially the financial prosperity, and then to know that we are walking and working with in these areas that were created by Black entrepreneurs, that is empowering.
That's it. It changes when you can show a child every week of the year, because the cards were designed to introduce you to a new Black millionaire every week of the year. And if you can show a child a picture of someone who looks like them, who makes millions of dollars every year, right? And they're dressed nicely, and and you can introduce them to a new career option,
right?
That they had no idea even existed, was a possibility for themselves. When you do that for your children, you have completely opened up their worlds in terms of their opportunities and just the way they see themselves.
Game changer right there. We're going to take a break, you all. But when we come back, I can't believe how fast the time is going by. Yeah. When we come back, I want Thiah to tell you all how to access this information, because we need to be sharing it not only with our children, with each other, but in our schools. And so I'm going to let Thiah give you all that information. We're going to talk a little bit more about some more of her most favorite interviews. And you interviewed Beyonce's daddy, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, we're going to hear it because he's been in the news lately. So we're going to talk about that when we come back from the break, you all. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I'm Agent Key, and we'll be right back. Woo! I was struggling there trying to get it all out. Yeah, but Mr. Knowles was in the news because he had made a comment about Beyonce. What's the young girl, the two, Heather and Haley? There's two singers. I think they're Heather and Haley, and I want to say they came out of Jay-Z's camp, but beautiful singers, performers, and someone drew a comparison to one of them with Beyonce.
Okay.
He crapped his stuff. He wasn't having it, but he was lightweight indignant about it. But other people were like, look, because I consider him like, what's Michael Jackson's daddy name?
Not like Joe.
Joe, he was kind of like a Joe. I don't know fully, but he was very tough on them from what I hear, making very a disciplinarian as far as when they were, younger and practicing and preparing them. And so, for you to look at your work and have somebody just tell you that this other person is, oh yeah, she's just like her. Well, I might be salty too. So he got salty, and some people called him out, but some people supported him.
That's interesting. I hadn't been keeping up. That is interesting.
Yeah. I think that I know they said that, well, I don't, this is not a gossip show, so we're not going to go there. We're not going to go there. We're going to keep it. We're going to focus on his attributes.
Yes, indeed. I can do that.
Focus on the attributes. Let's see. Do we have some other comments coming in here? I don't have my glasses on, y'all, so I'm struggling. I'm trying to be a little natural, because my sister said I didn't need no lipstick on, so I'm gonna trust her.
I'm trying to tell you, I know beauty when I see it. You are good.
We do have some comments. Let's see. Had no idea except for the Bonner brothers. Yep. Miss Cheryl said valuable information being shared today for the financial independence of our young and coming generations. Absolutely. Yeah. Big facts. Yes. Haley and Chloe. Who did I say? Heather and somebody?
Yeah, Heather and somebody.
Haley and Heather, I think.
And Heather. You know it? So Haley and Heather are twins. They're my friend's daughters.
Okay.
Haley and Chloe. Thank you, Miss Tony.
Listen, you connected them dots some kind of way.
Yes.
I'm my man.
I'll let you know how connected I am. Oh, we are back. Okay. Guess we didn't need the phones. Hey everyone, we're back. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key with my very special guest, Miss Thiah Muhammad from Raising Black Millionaires. And the discussion has been really, really powerful and insightful. And I'm excited to know, I'm excited to get this information in my hands. And so, Thiah, tell everyone how we can get the information in our hands. How can we get the book? How can we get the flashcards? What do people need to do?
So you can visit our store for the flashcards at raisingblackmillionaires.com, or you can go to our general online store at raisingblackmillionairesshop.com, and you can get everything Raising Black Millionaires. But our show, the Raising Black Millionaires show, where we go into the homes and offices of today's Black millionaires and billionaires to ask them these questions, to find out what were the child rearing strategies and techniques their parents used to get them to their respective levels of success, and then which of those same techniques they used in rearing their children. That show can be seen on our Raising Black Millionaires show YouTube channel, or you can visit us on our Raising Black Millionaires page on Facebook. You can get all of our shows there. A new episode drops every week. And yes, the very first episode of season 1 was with Matthew Knowles, Beyonce, and Solange Knowles' father. And
tell us a little bit about that interview.
That was a fun interview. It was really an experience, because he invited us for another part. Essentially it was a part 3 to the interview at his home. But the pandemic hit when we were supposed to go. And so we had to do some rearranging of that. So that's to be continued. But it was a really good interview. He really shared with us just how he and Miss Tina didn't force the girls to be singers. They were really trying to support them in whatever their talents were. And so from that conversation, it was really enlightening, because that's where we really got to talk about how, yes, Beyonce was in Destiny's Child, but Solange was a background singer for Destiny's Child who also wrote songs for Destiny's Child. And Solange was young, like when I'm saying young, like 12, 13, like young, writing music for this sensational, extremely popular group known as Destiny's Child. And so that was just a matter of them discovering, well, hot dog, my child can write.
Wow.
And it was a really beautiful, it was a beautiful story. He told me that if Beyonce had ever told him, Dad, I want to be a doctor, he told her, baby, if you ever wanted to be a doctor, I would take you to go to school to be a doctor. And when you graduated from medical school, by the time you graduate, daddy would have figured out a way to buy a hospital so that you could be an owner, not just an employee of the hospital.
So
that's what they gave to their children.
So the thing I like about that is that he was supporting his children's natural abilities. He wasn't forcing something on them. He was actually just saying, okay, this is where I see your strengths are. We're about to go all in.
While teaching them ownership.
Wow.
That was the key to it. He supported them in their natural gifts while grooming them to be owners.
And we can see the results of that today based on who Beyonce is.
Yeah.
She's literally the #1 entertainer in the world.
Yeah. So, that for me, that made all the difference in the world, just because that's the part of these conversations that we have to really spend more time on, and not just conversing about, but really grooming our children in ownership of everything. Not just this is teaching our children how to own a beauty salon or a barbershop, which is a great thing, but grooming them to be owners in every facet of their lives.
Miss Thiah, girl, it is time to go. It's past time to go. But I want to thank you so much. We got to have you back. I'm going to post all of your information on the site where we're going live right now. But thank you again so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining in and for listening. You'll be able to catch Miss Thiah back because we're going to have her back. You've been listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I'm Agent Key. And remember, if you're doing what you were created to do, I will see you at the top. Bye, y'all. I didn't even realize what time it was.
I know. I took an extra 5 minutes.
You should have did like a. You usually go.
Mommy, you're killing me here.
I'm sorry, Mr. Engineer. I'm so sorry, brother. It's her fault, brother. I was waiting on a cue, brother.
You're right, though. I'm just sitting here like, what'd he say? What happened? You know. This was good.
I just tell the station manager, if you're going to hit me, don't hit me.
You know what?
Leave my face alone. Everything else I'm cool.
You can give the station manager my information.
It don't work like that. Just kidding.
I appreciate that. He's standing in front of me for the station manager.
That's a blessing. That is
yes. But I am definitely going to put all of the contact information for your for the material on the site, on the Facebook, the YouTube, and so people can go back and find it. This show is going to continue to live on. I'm going to boost it once it's over, and so it will still continue to be shown, but it'll be shown at an extreme for about another week or so.
Okay.
So I'd be interested in knowing if you see any additional increases in anything. Yeah, just definitely let me know. Yeah, and of course the podcast will go up as well. Thank you, my dear, my beautiful sister. I love you so much.
You know I love you. I appreciate you for having me on, and it was fun.
Yes, my pleasure.
We have a rule though. We can't talk anymore without hitting record.
You know, at least this was recording.
Yeah.
But that last Zoom call, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna let you go, honey. But thank you again. Right, talk to you soon, honey. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.